Hola.
Hello everyone, so we're here at the airport. We literally have 30 minutes before we get on our plane, and as we promised, we're going to answer some of your questions.
We've got a question from a guy that asked about the difference between climate variability and climate change, like weather and climate. What are the difference between the two?
Climate variability is the changes in weather patterns over a period of time. You know, it's always changing.
So it's because naturally it's
but when you're looking at climate change, capital C,
yeah.
they measure it from when the Industrial Revolution started because it's human induced. That's why you hear big words like anthropogenic, because we're the ones causing it. It's not natural.
Yeah. So another term that we always hear about is the gap.
Yeah.
The climate gap. Like I know gap means what? What does that mean? Is it like if they're trying to sidestep the climate change issue, you know, from fixing it? What does gap mean?
The Paris Agreement made a promise at 2 degrees, right? With an aim of 1.5. But what happened was all these countries had their NDCs.
What's NDC?
Nationally determined contributions.
Right?
What they will do in their own country to help reduce fossil fuel use, right? So when they calculated all the NDCs and everything, they found that we're still at 4 degrees. So the gap is the 2 degrees that they promised and 1.5 we're aiming for, and the 4 degrees where we're actually at. And that's really why we're going there. Like, we want to see how we can act to move that down, close that gap. But it's not just about not digging up fossil fuels to use locally, but also not selling it elsewhere, because when they're burning it, they also contribute
to the climate change. Get it.
So that's the whole gap.
Cool. Does everyone get it now?
Yeah.
We're all on the same page here, right?
Close the gap. Why are we only focusing on coal, oil, and gas?
Well, coal, oil, and gas contributes to 65% of climate change. Like this massive amount. That's why we're focusing on them first. You know, we'll deal with them first, and then we'll move on to the others like agriculture and other stuff. But for now, we'll focus on that first. They're the biggest, you know, contributors to climate change. They're known as fossil fuel, as we all know. That's why we focus on them. So there's a shit, guys. Stop fossil fuel. Yeah, I want to know what's damage and loss.
Actually, it's loss and damage. It's this whole idea that you have these countries, these developed countries that have polluted the atmosphere, and the least developed countries, all small island developing states like India and the Pacific, are the ones at the forefront and being most affected by this pollution. And the idea is that these countries are supposed to compensate the other countries who have been affected in a way. But you can't use the word compensate because it makes it sound legal and it scares people off. And so what they did was they came up with this whole agreement in Warsaw and said, okay, we're going to have this mechanism where we'll put in money, and then these countries can get the money to help them, you know, to adapt and mitigate for them to climate change. But there's really nothing there. Like it's all up in the air. No one knows. It's
and
like
how do we
just
get
an
it
empty
out?
box.
Okay then.
So that's what they'll be talking about there. You know, how do you get money in? How do you get it out? How do you help these countries that are being most impacted, like Fiji?
Nice. So why are we picking on other countries? Why can't we just focus in the Pacific on what we're doing here?
Right. So the Paris Agreement allows us as developing countries to burn more fossil fuels, to develop our roads, our health infrastructure, and all these things. But we've still chosen not to. Like Fiji, for example, is 60% renewable, you know, because of the one-stop dam, you know. If you look at the world, the Pacific makes up a quarter of the world, but our contribution to carbon emissions is 0.03%.
Serious?
Yeah. So really, we are doing our part, and we're trying to do more, but we cannot make a dent globally because we are not the highest carbon emitters. So that's why we're talking to these countries, you know, not picking at them so much and saying, hey, why don't you follow our example and let's take another part.
It's pretty weird that we contribute 0.03 and yet we still want to do more to make it to zero. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So good work, Pacific team.